This week is Holy Week, the most sacred week of the year for Christians throughout the world. A week that culminates in what's called the Paschal saving events of the Passion, Death and Resurrection of Jesus. Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday. The Church is at its best. Its liturgies are so rich and so very, very beautiful. It's a kind of powerhouse of everything that's good. For so many Catholics in particular, I think, their preparation for Holy Week began a way back on Ash Wednesday. Ash on the head. Remember, man, that thou art dust, and unto dust thou shalt return. And then people's efforts to try and give money to the poor, or to go to Mass a little bit more perhaps, or to do a little fasting. For many Catholics, one of the great practices surely is the Stations of the Cross. The Stations of the Cross. Something that was introduced into our way of doing things by the Franciscans, who still to this day look after the holy places, or many of them. I love the Stations of the Cross, and also I find on Good Friday the kissing of the cross one of the most evocative actions that I ever do as a priest. I use this crucifix. It's a beautiful thing, really. It was given to me many years ago by a parishioner of mine when I was living down in Sheffield. I wasn't quite sure what he was going to give me. It was his cousin who had died. And then he brought this in. It wasn't the original cross, I had that made. But the figure is exquisite. The detail is phenomenal. It was made on an occasion when time was different. Possibly made of ivory, says he. His cousin was on the run to Dunkirk with the British Expeditionary Force in 1940 and hid in a bombed out church. And he saw this lying in the corner. The figure, put it in his kit bag, brought it back to England, and I've got it now. I had this cross made by another friend of mine, a Pole, Charlie Lewenska. The kissing of the cross, the Stations of the Cross. Why, oh why, after 2,000 years, is this still such an important symbol for Catholics? And why is the cross in general still its principal Christian symbol? A Roman crucifixion was a horrendous affair. It meant to totally dehumanize and humiliate not just you, but also your family as well, who were unable to do anything for you. And the early Christians, as we know, they never liked to talk about their Lord who'd gone to the cross. They didn't even have crucifixes. It wasn't really until much later that they began to understand all sorts of things. And why is it, for instance, that the Catholics are still big into these crucifixes? Because there are many Christian churches who have crosses, but not crucifixes. Why, with this figure on it, dead, dying, covered in blood, humiliated, why do the Catholics persist with this? I think it's because this, dear friends, for many people is a symbol of life. It's a symbol of life. Life is not always fair. It's not always easy. And for huge numbers of people, life is more of a crucifixion sometimes than it is a resurrection. A couple of days ago, the people of Liverpool remembered the Hillsborough disaster. I remember it well. I was a hospital chaplain in Sheffield at the time. They knew what the crucifixion was about. It's 25 years from all that murder, since all that murder in Rwanda. Do you remember it? That was a terrible crucifixion for those people. And what about the people of Paris these days? When one of the finest churches in Christendom, a symbol of the nation, let alone the beauty of the church, went up in flames. A tragedy that words can't really describe. All in Holy Week, they will understand what the crucifixion is like. Jesus descends into the absolute messiness and the horror and the unfairness of life. And somehow he takes it all on board, and maybe he's able to say, listen, I really do understand how you feel because I've been there. But we as Christians will also remember at the end of Holy Week, there's the Feast of the Resurrection, when Jesus smashes the chains of death and the grave, and light is better than darkness, and hope is better than despair, and God is greater than the evil one. I hope that the people of Liverpool continue to experience a little bit of the resurrection as the resilience of the human spirit tries to bring them out of the pain that they felt and the loss. I hope the people of Rwanda heal and experience the resurrection of Jesus as well after that dreadful crucifixion. And let's hope, dear friends, that again the world rallies round the people of Paris and rebuilds that magnificent cathedral dedicated to Notre Dame, our Blessed Lady. And light will come out of darkness, and hope will come out of despair, and it will all be a little bit like the resurrection of Jesus Christ. But meanwhile, at the end of this week, on Friday, people will go and kiss the cross in their churches, and they'll sing the words, Jesus our love is crucified, and they will shed the tears and feel the pain, but then they will look forward to the resurrection. God's blessings on you, God's blessings on your families, God's blessings on your loved ones as we approach the Paschal saving events of the Passion, Death and Resurrection of our blessed Lord.